Alright, let's jump into it. I think it's been a little over a week since my last video. Today's May 1st, 2026. We just got our monthly close. We got our 2-month close and we got our 4-month close. So I wanted to start at the 4-month, then go down to the 2 and the 1, and then kind of go from there, and then look where we're at in our pattern. But we'll start with the 4-month. This is the candle that we just got right here, red hangman style candle, red candle. So it's interesting because it is kind of hammerish, only it didn't really close up to the top part of its wick, so it's not a super bullish candle, but it's not a super bearish candle either, because its body is more towards the top than it is lower towards the bottom half of the candle. So it's got a nice lower wick. It kind of closed right at the moving average on the 8 EMA on the 4-month. So that's kind of right where we're at. It's above the moving averages rolling up, and this will be kind of an interesting area to see what happens. But it is a red candle. You know, we had a topping red 4-month candle right here. We get another candle. Now it'll be interesting to see what our next 4-month candle does. I'm still expecting us to, come down and go lower. But I could also see us maybe coming up and then dropping. But it doesn't necessarily have to. Maybe we get a little wick up, maybe right here around 87,000 here in the next 4 months, and then we drop kind of towards the top of the body of this candle. Yeah, interesting area, because this is right where the 4-month moving averages are. So let's go down to the 2-month. And this is where it's interesting, because the 2-month we got was green. But look at this 2-month candle. Look how small this is. It's a small green big body candle. And a lot of times when I see candles like this that don't have a lower low than the previous candle, and they're small candles, they're really not like, since this is a change of color candle, this is now green to this red, usually these kind of get engulfed by the next candle. So usually you'll get upper wick that breaks the high of this candle. You'll also get a lower wick that breaks the high of this candle. So what I think we could do here is maybe come up to break this last 2-month high of 79,485. Here's the 8 EMA at 82,481. So maybe that's where we get to. I think, it is possible we could see a quick 1 or 2 day squeeze up to 89, 90,000. And I kind of made a prediction on Twitter that that could be our absolute high is maybe back up around 90,000. I don't think we're going to get up that high, but I mean, we could, based on the patterns that's forming right now. There's a chance to squeeze out of it, and we could see a big move. But I also see a lot of resistance right at around 82,000 in the charts and where the moving averages are. And so, yep, this right here, the 80 EMA is right at 82,000. And I know if we get to that area, I'm definitely going to add to my short positions. I did take profit last night when we got our monthly close on my shorts, just because we got a green daily hammer in our BitTrue view, and it just looked like they're going to want to push crypto up to start the month. Get an upper wick, which is what I love seeing. I love when we, when I think overall we're going to come down, but when we get a new opening like the monthly or 2-month, I love to get that upper wick first, and that's what we're doing here. This is the first 10, 12 hours of our new candle, and we've already come up, not a lot, but we are getting that upper wick going. So at least we're not going to be dead flat on top for the next 4, 2, or 1 month. Like, we're going to have a little bit of a wick, and hopefully we can come up just a little bit more and maybe get to that 82,000 area, and then we begin our descent, engulf this previous 2-month candle, get a little wick up here, and then dump it, break the high of this candle. That's what I want to see. I want to see 79,485 get broken. Get Bitcoin up to 80,000. People are going to get excited that it's back over 80,000. They'll start coming in. They'll start maybe getting a little pump, and then, ultimately they're probably going to dump it on them. So, but 2-month was green. So, we won't get another 2-month candle until June. So we got or I guess it would be July 1st would be our new 2-month candle. So we got to get through May and June, and we got to get the upper wick, and then hopefully get a red set up, and then dump later on. Trying to think how they even could do this where it could end up being bullish, like maybe come up, we get a big drop or something, and then they come up, get a I don't know. That would be weird looking, because on the 2-month you can see the 8 has crossed the 10, and it looks like it's rolling over here. Let's see the MACD. What does the MACD look like on the 2-month? I mean, it's rolling down. Really not much to see on the 2-month. So that's the 2-month. Let's look at the monthly. Oops, not 3-week. We'll come back to the 3-week. We did get a green month. It broke the high of the previous green month. But look at the moving averages. I mean, they just now the 10 has crossed the 20 with this new monthly open. So now the 8 and the 10 have fully crossed the 20. This is usually what happens: is you get a dump going, the moving averages start to cross, and then you get a little bit of a rebound. You get a relief rally up into you got to wait for the moving averages to catch up and cross. You've come up into the moving averages. We get a little wick up here. I mean, look at the 8 EMA is 81,195. So, and on the 2-month it's 82,000. So, I mean, right in this area we should come up. Maybe we even come up to the 10 right around 86, 87,000. The 20 is at 90,000. So I don't think we're going to come up that high. I just don't. I mean, I think we're going to find resistance here with the monthly moving averages here pretty soon. I want us to break the high of our last month, obviously, like I talked about, which is 79,485. So just get above 80,000, and then this may be a good area to find some shorts. The next red candle daily that we get this month, with an upper wick that has a new high broken. I mean, that might be a pretty decent play to get in and put a short position on, and then maybe our next move looks like this for a few months. Who knows? Usually you get a couple legs down. So like this was our first leg down. Here's our our rebound that we're coming back up into the moving average, and then usually get a second leg down. So we should be seeing that. I mean, it's pretty much all there. I mean, we are up off of this red monthly candle, like the green candle. We didn't even get a new low on this candle, so that doesn't look right, and we're below the monthly moving averages, so it's still bearish. But we do have the green monthly to work with if they do push here. So, and it's not like the most weak looking green monthly candle either. Like this is pretty solid. It's a pretty solid candle to go higher off of. But as you can see with the new monthly, like I talked about, we have no lower wick yet. So, and we are getting our initial pump, which makes me think that we will probably come down at some point this month and test lower. So they've been open pumping a lot on the weeklies and on the monthlies, so it makes me pretty confident we are going to come back down at some point. All right, let's go to the 3-week, and like I talked about, like I was just saying, is like look at these 3-week. Like we're still dead flat on the bottom, And this closes in 9 days, 10 hours. It was dead flat on this. There's like no lower wick on this candle. And then these green candles, you know, they're up off of these red candles. Like we don't even have like, you know, here's our first leg down. We don't even have a second, you know, in this area where we get a 1 and then a 2 right here and then up. Like we just kind of came down and we've kind of chopped sideways higher into the moving averages. So, and here we are. I mean, we're right here, right now, at the moving averages. So here's the 8 and the 10, and that's where our top wick is. So it'll be interesting to see if, you know, that high does hold somehow, based on the 3-week. I don't know how they're gonna make this look over the next 9 days, but I do think we can still come up a little bit higher and then come down and get a red reversal. And if we do, then you know, it's game on. The next 3-week candles it will be super bearish. Like if we do come up just a little bit more, you know, we've already broken the previous, but basically to help our monthly candles look right, we need to come up a little bit more and then start our sell down. And then hopefully, you know, we don't drop lower than 66,200. You know, we come down and then don't break the low of this candle, get a nice fat red body candle, nice upper wick, and then we should drop from there on the next 3-week after the 9 days, 10 hours. So we need to get a red candle here first if we're gonna drop. Let's look at the 2-week. So the same with the 2-week. It closes in 9 days, 10 hours. We're going to get the 2 and 3 week at the same time, and it's going to be a big tell pretty much on what's going to happen here. I mean, look how flat we are on some of these 2-week candles on the bottom. Like there's no wick on that candle, or hard little bit of wick there, not much. Like nothing. No wick there, no wick there. You know, we're up off this red candle, you know, we're up off of this red candle. We got a green, came up, then red reversal, broke the low of this candle. Now we're up off of this red candle, you know, so we're up off of a couple red candles here, and we're dead flat on the bottom. It is interesting on the 2-week. You can see the 8 has started to cross the 10 though, so I don't know. It's just we'll see what they want to do here. The 20 is at 90,000, so I mean, that's that area where I'm like, I could see us maybe max coming up in there, 90, 91,000. I don't think it'll happen, but it could. We do have wick on the bottom of the 2-week to get up, and it does have a green to go higher off of. We haven't broken the high of this candle on the current 2-week, so I think we can, you know, maybe just slightly break it, or maybe a little bit more, and then come back down. And then I'll pull the 8 back below the 10. So if it's going to do it, it's going to have to do it within these next 9 days, 10 hours, you know, to get that 2 and the 3-week, come up a little bit more, come back down. The 8 will come back down below the 10, and it'll kind of reset itself, and it'll look right. And we'll make another video then at that point, like if it does get up and 8 starts to cross the 10, it'll be on the weekly, it'll be on the 2-week, and then the 3-week, if we go back to the 3-week, the 8 will probably cross the 10 on the 3-week too. So things could turn bullish if that happens, but I'm expecting, you know, some things to happen the next 9 days, 10 hours where we come up and then come back down to make these moving averages look right again. And then the weekly, you can see it starting to roll up here, but like look at these candles, dead flat on that candle, dead flat up off of this red. You know, we got a green up off of this red. So it's just been like a slow chop higher, and you know, it's starting to roll up on the weekly, and I don't know if we end up getting a green little hammer here. I mean, we might have a play along here. I don't know how high it'll go, but it's kind of interesting to look at how this is starting to roll up towards the 20. I mean, the distance between the 8 and the 20 still has some room, and the 10 to the 8 and to the 20, like they're kind of spaced out, but you can clearly see it's rolling up. So I don't know how they're gonna do this. It could be a 1-day event or something, like, where we just get a big red candle or something to kind of get this to roll back down. So I don't know, it's just kind of interesting, but yeah, like dead flat on a lot of these weeklies. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3 weeklies we're dead flat on and up off of reds, and that's a problem. But we've had 4 green weeks in a row, just slowly grind higher, not big candles, not like this big red candle. I mean, look at this back here, how small these candles are. It's like Bitcoin's price action has been very stale, other than a few weeks here. Even back here, these bigger candles, like, it's just been kind of stale. Very, there's some bigger candles back here. Look at that one. Big candles, up. Everything's just been kind of smaller and kind of choppy. So that's the weekly. 4 green weeks in a row. Let's go to a 3-day. We're getting up off of a red hanging man style candle, almost a red hammer. We're on the moving averages. Moving averages are kind of bullish for the 3-day. We do have a new high on this candle compared to the previous candle, but the moving averages are right there, so we're really going to have to see a big move down to push these moving averages back down if we are going to, roll over. The higher time frames show us that we will, but the lower time frames are showing us that we're rolling up, so it's kind of interesting area we're in. I do expect like volume and price action to pick up here soon. Like, I really do. Like, something's got to give eventually. 2-day. Red 2-day. This closes tomorrow. The 10 is above the 8, so I don't know. Maybe this is where they, move it down. We get up and then move it down here on this 2-day and the 1-day. I don't think so, because today's Friday, and price action usually doesn't move as much over the weekend. So we'll have to see. I mean, look at all these 2-day candles, how small they are, just for so long, back since February. And it's May right now. Like, this has been awful trading. Like, just ugly, very ugly. And then down to a daily. Let's go to the daily. We're getting up off of a green day yesterday, small green candle. 10 is above the 8, so it doesn't necessarily look right setup wise. Just very extended up, and then we got a little bit of a pullback, and I don't know. It just nothing, too vertical. It's very choppy up. So just, I don't know, not my favorite bullish setup, but I mean, things can happen, and I'll kind of show that here. I'm going to turn on the trend lines and kind of show where we're at. Let's change the color here on this and this one. Okay, so let's extend that out a little bit. So this is kind of, our channel, or rising wedge, excuse me, that we've that we've been in. Let me see if I can, there we go. So this the pink trend lines is kind of basically the area of the rising wedge, that we've been chopping in. We dropped below it a little bit down here. We came back up. We've wicked above it a couple times, played around with it, and then now we dropped back into this range, and we've just been in this rising wedge for a while now. I mean, if we go, I think it's been longer than the last one we were in at this point. So, you know, like I talked about, this was 60 days of sideways, and this is about, what are we up to now? 70 days? When was this? February 5th, and we're on May 1st. So this is almost 3 months now, almost, where we've been just chopping slowly upwards in the rising wedge. Here's our move down. Now we're chopping in here in this, you know, this area, this little channel area or whatever. And so we're kind of just waiting to see what's going to happen. I have a trend line that I was kind of, you know, kind of curious about with some swings, and I don't know how much weight to put on it. So it connects this swing right here to this swing. And so there's some room up here where if we set up, maybe we could get up, and there's that 82,000 area that I talked about up here. So maybe we wick up here, you know, on maybe some news or something, and then maybe we sell back down in here, get a reversal, you know, come down, set up in here, and then dump or something like that. That's what I'm kind of thinking. We are up off of a red on the daily, which, you know, we're getting up off of this red candle, which doesn't look right. So, and we're dead flat on the current daily. So if we come up, I mean, I eventually think we're going to come back down. And the moving averages don't necessarily look right. You know, usually if you get a squeeze going when the moving averages aren't right, you will come back down, especially if you're getting up off of a red as well. But, you know, things can happen when you start breaking trend lines. You know, you start getting out of patterns. Like, if you break this trend line right here and you squeeze, like, then here's your 90,000 area up here. I've got a trend line up here that goes back, connects some swings in there, goes back to April of 2025. So this is kind of like, so this was the neckline of our cup and handle, but this trend line connects some more parts of that handle of this inverse cup and handle. So the inverse right here, upside down cup, and then here's your handle right here. So this trend line connects, you know, that left side of the cup, and then a lot of those wicks in the handle. So that's why I've kind of highlighted like 81, 82,000 and 90,000 as potential targets for Bitcoin this month and next month. You know, if we do get, you know, a wick up here and then roll over. But usually these patterns, you know, when you start, you know, coming up here and chopping, usually you'll get a setup to roll over. It would look kind of weird if we had a wick come way up here to 90K before it closed back down, but I mean, crazier things have happened. So, well, it'll be annoying as hell if they do that, but I don't know. Maybe it is 82,000, you know, 500 or something, and that's, you know, the top for the next month or two before rolling over. So that's kind of what I'm thinking is possible. It's just been boring trading. Like, there's really not been anything going on for a while, like back since February when we were getting huge candles to the downside. I mean, it's just been so choppy and crappy in here, and I keep making videos, but we're still in this pattern. Like, we're still in here, and there's other trend lines, you know, that you can draw and play around with, and different areas that I've kind of connected. But the general area is this pink area that I have drawn, and we're still currently trading within it right now. We are at, and if I zoom in, we are, you know, threatening the top of it again. You know, we've wicked above it a few times. We've played around on the trend line and sold back in. So I wonder if we will, you know, maybe get a setup sometime this weekend to come through and wick up before coming back down, and then maybe next week we get a red weekly next week, and then we dump. So that's pretty much all I have. Like, I really don't want to make a long video because nothing really has changed. We really don't have like a setup in front of us to like be too excited about. I mean, we are getting pretty extended here in this pattern. Um, but you can pull these trend lines out, and as you can see, like, we still got room in here to play, for a while, like maybe towards the end of May or something. But I'm thinking when we get that new 2 and 3 week candle in the next 9 days, where does that put us? So 9 days from now would be what, May 10th? So right in here. So hopefully we get, like, the close here, and then maybe get, an upper wick to start the new 2 and 3, and then sometime in that new opening we get a setup to dump, and we just start to roll over and go lower. But what else is interesting is, also another area we're at. If we connect this trend line up here to our top, when we hit all-time high back here on October 5th or whatever, another top swing over here back in January, and look where we're at now. We're actually above that trend line. So connected here, and we played around with it here. We got above it, played around, and then we dropped back to it, back tested it, and now we're getting up. So that's interesting as well, that we are jabbing above this trend line. And we don't have to put like a whole lot of weight on this trend line, because we really didn't even connect 3 points. We had this point right here and this point, and we drew it down. So it's not like it's a major trend line area that we're getting above, because technically you do want 3 touches to confirm, this swing, but it is something to keep note of, that we are trading above that area. And we can very easily, trade around, play above it for a while, and then set up, and then we drop below it or something. We get some play above it, and then we fall back underneath the trend line. So we'll have to see how that shakes out, but I am expecting us to, come down hopefully a little bit within the next 9 days, because we're still dead flat on the bottom of the 3 week, and that's why I really think we are going to come back down too. If I go back to the 3 week. I mean, as you can see, like, just to go back and show it, like, we've had our pattern, our kind of our rising pattern, our grind up, and we just broke out of this big pattern here. Like, usually, you'll break out, and then you'll back test up, and then you'll roll over, and you'll go lower. So based on this 3 week chart, like, it looks like we really do need to come back down and test lower on Bitcoin. And look, we're dead flat on that current 3 week. We have no lower wick, and we're in the moving averages right now. So a lot of times this whole area can act as resistance. So we'll see. We got 9 days, 10 hours on this candle right here, and if it is green, I want it to be above the moving averages to give us a shot to go higher. At least, like, if it just closed like right here, like, well, I mean, I guess on the next 3 week we could come up, maybe slightly break the high and then drop, but just kind of a weird candle that looks like, it needs to come down to the downside. We've already broken the high of the previous 3 week candle, so I mean, this candle is dead flat, like I talked about. It just looks like in the next 9 days we need to come down and test lower. So we'll see if it happens. I'll probably wait to make a video until then, when we get the 2 and 3 week close, and then go over that, and hopefully we'll kind of have a more clear picture. But yeah, that's just kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we will come down and get a red 3-week. I mean, I think we will, but we'll see how they want to do this. All right, that's all I got.